Welcome to this video, which hopefully will help students who maybe need that little extra assistance in using the website, or I'll say software package, called AppInventor. It's actually a program developed at MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, a very highly regarded university for those who don't know about that school. It's up there with the Harvards of the world. And the purpose is to really get a feel for how smartphone apps are developed. You don't have to have an Android phone. You can still do this on the computer screen with something called an emulator. I have an iPhone and I have to use this situation, the emulator, as well. This will help you maybe get a feel for classes and events and how these parts of computer programs actually work for you. So I'll get started with that. You want to go into a website that I have listed here called appinventor.mit.edu, which I happen to already have on the screen, but I'll go ahead and go through the process one more time and let you see the opening screen. You have two areas you need to look at here. One is called the welcome screen. This is where you can get into the various resources, the blogs, the tutorials that we'll look at in a few minutes. And then the buttons down at the bottom, you'll use the one called Invent, and that will be where you'll actually start, kind of like going to File New if you're using Word. And this will give you a chance to create your own phone apps, actually, but the tutorials will be very helpful to you and for you. And all I ask for you to give me would be some kind of screen capture, and I just have to trust that you have made the attempt at the exercise. If you click the welcome screen right here, you will get a lot of information which I won't go into in order to spare the length of this video. But if you go up here to the top where it says tutorials, click that green button, that green tab, you'll see a lot of them out here, and I would start with the basic ones as it recommends to get familiar with the software package. So we'll start with the one called HelloPurr by just clicking on HelloPurr, which I hope you're seeing on the screen right here, third paragraph, second part of the sentence. And when you click this, you'll come to a screen that just gives you the actual, at least I hope, directions for HelloPurr. You're going to need to download two files that will be helpful, in fact necessary, for this assignment. One is called kitty.png, it's a picture of a cat, and one is the meow sound. You simply, as it says in the directions, right click and choose Save Target As, and you can choose where you want these to land. Now, I don't have your computer, of course, at my side, and I don't have you at my side, so I don't know where yours are. I happen to have mine already downloaded in a file that I called HelloPurr folder. You can call it anything you want to. There's the picture of the cat right there, and there's also a sound of a cat going meow, basically. Just a simple app to let you get an idea, or a simple tutorial to let you see how AppInventor works. Now, you may want to have both screens around. I happen to have two computers side by side, but if you click the Invent button, you'll come to the screen where you'll actually get a chance to start your application. Now, mine jumped to the 8-ball because it will automatically go to the last project that particular individual has been working on. I happen to be working on the second tutorial. But if you go over here to where it says My Projects, if you happen to get a screen like this, you'll end up with this one, and you'll basically click on the word New, and to start the project you give it a name. They recommend no spaces in the name. This is not English class, and they recommend that you name it HelloPurr. You can name it whatever you like. And then click OK for your project. Again, rewind, replay, pause if you need to individually. When you're actually in the software package itself, just to show you this, you'll be in an area, and this is called beta.appinventor. This is the actual software right here, beta.appinventor.mit.edu. The actual tutorial is in just the AppInventor section. So you click the welcome button, sorry about that, you click the welcome button to get to the tutorial, you click the invent button to create the app. So while we're looking at these screens once again, I'll guide you through this process one more time. There is the screen that we'll be using to actually compose the app, and the directions will be on that. Well, actually I thought I had both. Apparently I didn't. If you go to just appinventor.mit.edu, you will get when you go to welcome, you'll get the tutorial itself right here. So I would have the tutorial by your side and have the actual screen you're working with. So I want to make sure you have the difference. There are the instructions for the tutorial right there. It's not as long as it looks. They just give a lot of visual illustrations, and I encourage you to try this on your own, but if you just really become more nervous or more insecure or just want video explanations, you can use the one I'm recording right here. So when I go in here, basically what's going to happen, I'm going to have three parts to this first app. You're going to have a picture of a kitten on the screen, and then you'll have a sound bite, just a very small sound that does a meow kind of sound. And we'll have a label called Pet the Kitty. You can see this in the tutorial, which I'm going through right now. And once you do that, we'll then do the programming part, which is very simple. They look like little puzzle pieces, and you'll go into an area called the blocks editor, and we'll make the sound play when we click the button. So eventually what will happen, you'll end up with a jigsaw puzzle situation that has two pieces. One says when button 1 is clicked, do the following, and that's the purple part that says call sound1.play, which may make absolutely no sense, but hopefully as programmers it will. And then we'll use something called an emulator. You can actually download this to your phone and try it out, but you'll use the emulator, and you can download it to the connected phone. I'll be using the computer for it, and we'll make the cat do its number. So here we go. Pretty straightforward. Again, I'll try to make this as slow as possible, but at the same time I don't want the video to last eternally, so to speak. The first thing you'll do is to go into the right hand side. There's something called a palette where you get these pieces that you need, and I'm going to drag a button to this big screen that's white, has a white background. So if I click on button and just drag it over here, and I can drag it anywhere, no matter where I put it, it's going to land near the top, and it says text for button 1. Now once you have the button over there, you'll see something over here on this side of the screen called components. Looking across from left to right, palette, where I chose the button, viewer, which actually has the emulator of the cell phone screen itself, the component, which is called a button in this case, and then the properties associated with that component, the background, whether it's active or not, the size of the text, if there's text there, images or whatever. Now in this case, instead of the button, think of it as a hyperlink. Instead of the button being words or an actual button like OK or cancel or print or something like that, you're actually going to have a picture that you click on. So to get that picture, if you follow in the directions, you'll go over here to properties with the button active, and you'll click where it says image, the word none. When you click this, you want to upload a new image. So you'll click the button that says, or the choice that says upload new. Now where you put kitty is up to you. I'm not at your computer, you're not at mine. My computer, I'm going to browse to upload my file. I've got to find the kitty, and again, you guys have to figure out where things are. Mine happens to be in the HelloPurr folder. Now I'll always have those one or two people watching a video who are very exact words oriented. If you don't have HelloPurr folder, then you got to find where you put it. Again, the exact words won't matter here unless you're following me down to the letter. And I'll find the file that's called kitty. Now I want the picture, not the sound. And I'll click the open button. And what will happen, it will land right here in the upload file dialog box. I'll click OK. And this is where your exact words of your tutorial may be different. You're going, oh my gosh, look at that little smudge behind text for button 1. Your directions will tell you to go over here in the properties and choose the width and the height. I hope you can see this on the screen. Right now it says automatic, and they're telling you to use the phrase the choice fill parent, which supposedly fills the screen, and click OK. Mine did not work very well that way, but what I ended up doing is instead of using fill parent, I chose the little circle next to the word pixels, and I put in a number like 200 or 300 right there. And that just basically resizes the picture. When I click OK, you don't see much right there, but when I go to the height and do the same thing, and I'm going to put 200 again just to get the assignment finished, click OK, and what happens now, you'll notice that the kitten did show up on my screen, and it could be this beta version that's not working well. If you want the width to be more than 200, change it to maybe 300 and click OK, and you'll have the kitten there. How long or how tall you happen to make it is completely up to you. Now you may or may not notice that the text for button 1 is still right here in this area. And to get rid of that, I would just go over here where it says text for button over in the properties on the far right, and just delete that or backspace it out. Be sure you hit the enter key to lock it in, and the text is gone. So now the first component in the tutorial, here are the directions. The tutorial directions have now been handled through putting the cat in place, and that's what we've done right there. The next thing we'll do is to put in a label. And we'll do that by dragging over here in the palette on the left hand side, find the word label there in alphabetical order. Drag it in here just below the cat somewhere. It doesn't matter where it aligns. We're just playing with it. And we're going to change the name from text for label 1. And notice over here in the properties I have label 1 and it has properties for the label. Instead of it being text for label 1, I will make it say text. I'll make it say pet for the kitty. Hopefully you can hear me. There's a lot of noise in my background down the hall because we tend to be a loud department when we're speaking to one another. So hopefully you're hearing me and not a lot of background noise. Alright, it says to change the text property to pet the kitten. Now if you want to put it in quotes you can. That was just for information purposes. I'm putting pet the kitty. When I hit enter, the text will change on the label to pet the kitty. And you can change the font size. They recommend changing the font size to 30. Don't be afraid to play with it. So I'm under font size. I'll click 30. Excuse me. For the background color, I'm just playing with this where it says none. I'm going to make my background a bright yellow color. Remember, when you're doing background foreground, you need to make them contrast for reading purposes. And for the font, I'm going to make it bold. The book didn't say to do this, but it's okay to get away from the book directions sometimes. Text color, that's defaulted to black. I'm going to change to a dark blue, and that's totally up to you. So now the label is taken care of. That's step 3. Step 2 was for the... Step 1 was actually getting the button and changing to a kitty. Step 2 was taking the text out that said text for button 1. Step 3 in the tutorial was to get the label in there. Now we're ready for step 4 in your tutorial. Under the palette over on the far left, there's a division. We've been using basic for now, but if you click down here where it says media, you have the option for doing something called a sound. So just click on sound and just drag the sound over here. Now the sound is not a physical visible part of the phone app, but when I click it, it's going to go down here to the bottom and it's going to say non-visible components. And it has sound 1 there. There are the components for sound 1, and not a lot of properties there, but if you click on source according to the directions, it wants you to upload the sound file, which is the meow that we're doing. So click upload new, and hopefully it goes to the last folder that you visited. I'll click on browse, and I'll find the sound called meow. If you're just being curious or a little nosy, the AppInventor project was just a set of directions that I wrote for myself for future reference. You click on meow, click open, and it will load it right there. You can click OK, and the sound will now, or the source now for the sound will be meow.mp3, just an MP3 file. And if you were to look over here at the components, you would see down here at the bottom, you see meow as part of the media along with kitty. That's already there. So basically now we have this information set up. If you want to save this, you can click over here in the upper left hand corner, somewhere in that area. You can click save, and the project is already named HelloPurr, remember? So it's there. By the way, if there is an issue with signing in to AppInventor, I'll go ahead and make this note right here. You might have to log in. Sorry about this. You might have to log in with your Google account. If you don't have one, make one. It's not going to hurt anyone. I hear people talk about the evil viruses on their computer, but I don't think you're going to have a problem with Google. So that may be an issue with you. Alright, now that the phone features are there, now let's do some programming. We're going to go up here to the upper right hand corner, and there's a choice that says open the blocks editor. Click on that. Be patient. The bottom of my screen says, do you want to open it? I always love that. It's like, well, duh, I wouldn't have clicked it otherwise. So click open in my case. You should see the Java there, and if you haven't set this AppInventor up on your computer, you may have to go to that part. Again, be patient. It may be hiding behind another screen. Sometimes that is a real possibility. So you may have to look back here possibly and see if it comes up. There's my block editor right there. And again, my kitten is still in place. They're still associated with one another. And you'll follow 2 very straightforward directions right here. Step 1 in the programming with blocks editor, we're going to go in and click the drawer. Right now we got built in on the screen. If we click on my blocks, that tab, there's a drawer called button 1. and it's got several little programming gimmicks here. We're going to choose the very first one called button1.click. Just drag it over to the center of your screen, and there it is. And these are called event handlers. Basically what this means is if I do something, if I click, if I press, if I speak, I do an action, and when the computer listens to it, is actually called an event listener, then some action will take place. Basically, I want button 1, remember button 1 is the picture of the cat. When I click on button 1, I want it to do something. Well, how do I make that something happen? Well, I go over here in my blocks at the bottom and choose sound 1, and I click on sound 1. I have a bunch of choices. I'll choose the one called play, and I just drag it and just put it inside this little jigsaw puzzle piece. You may hear a little clicking sound on your computer, as you did maybe right there. So when this button is clicked, it takes sound 1 and plays the sound. Now your instructions almost make it sound like, hey, you can click it right now and it'll go meow, but it really doesn't. It says to try it. I don't think mine's going to work when I click the button. When I click that, nothing happens. And when I go over here and click the kitten, nothing happens. That's okay though. I'm going, oh my gosh, it's not working. Help, Mike. And I went through the same thing before I did this video. Basically what you have to do now is take the third step, which is not necessarily as clear in the tutorial in my opinion. What you have to do now is click the button right above these two little blocks, and it says new emulator. Click on that, and here folks, you have to be really patient. If you are not a patient person, you're in the wrong package. What will happen, it will say it could take up to 2 or 3 minutes for the emulator to become ready. Now again, it is very possible that these screens could be hiding behind each other. So if you don't find it, you may have to minimize or maximize screens, as I'm doing right here, just to let you see what's going on. So it may be in the background. I'm going to click OK and get rid of this screen. But you've got to be patient with this. If you're not patient with it, you're going to have a long afternoon. And again, I hope if you're going into computer work of any kind that you do have some patience in your bloodstream, because if you don't, you're in for a really long ride with computer courses. You've got to learn to be patient, and a lot of people lack that quality. I hope you'll acquire it if you haven't already, and that's why I'm still talking. And there comes my screen. Now I still got to wait just a minute. It still says no service. Now it says Android. It's just simulating an Android phone. I have an iPhone. Sorry folks, we're not privileged here. Now if we take the green lock and just drag it to the right, again, I need to wait until everything's set up. You'll go, oh my gosh, how do I know when it's set up? Hopefully what's going to happen is your app will be on your screen. Again, it's like a smartphone. So if I click the launcher down the center, it's got all the little dots, 4 rows of 4 dots. I'll click on that puppy right there, and there's my demo for Hello Kitty. And I'm going to click on it, and hopefully there it is on the screen. Now that's a demo right there. When I click it, it goes meow. Hopefully you can do the same thing with yours. So I'm going to go back to the home screen, and supposedly this will come up to where you can see your particular app, and this will be your next step. If you have trouble with this, again, just let me know. I may have clicked Google right there. I'm not sure what I've done, but you get the idea. This is your last step. When you get the app uploaded, hopefully it will then work for you. And you can just send me a screen capture of what you've done. If you have any problems, just let me know. Again, don't make this a life or death crisis kind of situation. I know grades are important, but I'm not going to put you in a situation individually where your grade's going to be a disaster area if you don't have this perfectly done. So do your best with it. Let me know how you like AppInventor. If it's absolutely a pain for you, I want to know that also. Thank you.